Set in a small, typical Denver suburb in the late 70s, The Black Phone is the story that follows a mass killer known as the Grabber who's been abducting and killing children. Benny, our main character, becomes his latest victim.
Are those black balloons in there? Would you like to see a magic trick?
Trapped in a basement with no way out, he starts receiving calls on a disconnected black phone from the ghosts of the Grabber's past victims, each one trying to help him survive. Welcome to Redeeming Horror, where we look beyond the fear and horror to find hope and light. Today, we'll explore two major faith themes in The Black Phone. The first is the hiddenness of evil versus faith in the unseen. Like any great horror film, The Black Phone has an iconic mask. But it's not just there to terrify us. It's not just there to terrify the children. The Grabber doesn't wear his mask to hide from others. He wears it to hide from himself. In the final act, when Finney pulls the mask off, the Grabber completely unravels. He screams, covers his face, panics, because his true self has been revealed. Finney has already seen him before. The different masks exposed parts of his face, and pieced together, Finn certainly knew what his face looked like. So it's not about being recognized. It's about being exposed. That's the moment the Grabber's evil catches up with him. The mask had allowed him to separate himself from the terrible things he was doing, as if each version of the mask represented a different part of himself. One that kills, one that plays, one that pretends it isn't happening. The Grabber's evil hides in plain sight. But most importantly, it hides from himself and grows in the hidden darkness. That's what makes this story so powerful. Because in a way, we all wear masks. At church on Sunday morning, it's easy to see the biggest smiles in the most perfect families. But sometimes, there's no easier place to wear a mask than church, surrounded by others wearing their own. The temptation is to look put together even when we're not. But our masks don't just hide us from others, they hide us from ourselves. And what's not in the light festers and grows. In the Christian faith, one of the most necessary but painful things that we do is confession. It's the act of taking off the mask before God, seeing what's really in the basement of our lives. And that's terrifying. But that's also where grace meets us. The great evangelist Billy Graham once said, "The closer you get to Christ, the more sinful you're going to feel." That sounds like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden at the beginning of Genesis, after eating the forbidden fruit. Their first act was to hide from God, and maybe even to hide from themselves. Perhaps that's why they covered their nakedness. That also sounds a lot like our story, the moment Finney tears off the Grabber's mask, the moment evil is dragged into the light. The Grabber's mask isn't a disguise. It's denial. It's hiding from the monster underneath. And when the monster finally takes his mask off, his destruction begins. If you're enjoying this video, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to Redeeming Horror. We believe horror is often misunderstood, especially in faith circles. And we want to show that light shines brightest in the dark. And we're just getting started. We honor horror stories for what they are, but we also watch them through a Christian lens. Join us for the journey. Another faith theme for us to explore is this: failed guardians versus childlike faith. The Black Phone is a story primarily about children trying to survive a world where adults have failed them over and over again. There's adult failure and incompetency everywhere in this movie. Penny and Gwen's mom passed away, allegedly through suicide. Their dad is an abusive alcoholic who the kids view as someone they have to take care of and not someone who takes care of them. The local police have failed for years in their attempts to catch the grabber. Even the grabber's brother, who's dedicated his life to solving the case, can't figure it out, even while Finn is under his feet. The story portrays the supposed guardians of the story to be failures, and their failure has created a world where these kids are in danger. In contrast, the children are portrayed with bravery and faith. And it's Gwen, Finn's sister, and her dreams that solves the case. And the police still take full credit in the end. It's the ghosts of the dead kids who helps Finn instead of the police. Another hero of our story is Robin. Who doesn't love Robin? He's small in stature but tough and feared. We are introduced to him being threatened by a bigger kid, but he takes him out in embarrassing fashion as other kids watch.
Like a boss!
He also threatens some bullies to protect Finney, being his protector when his dad couldn't be. Gwen's gift of having dreams should be something to be nurtured, but instead is something that her dad wants her to hide, even beating her with a belt to get her to stop talking about it. The Black Phone laments a world where children feel abandoned, a world where the gifts of children aren't nurtured and cultivated, but punished. A perfect world for a serial killer. I love how the movie begins at a baseball field, an idealistic place for young families. So normal and so safe. But that location is abandoned just minutes into the film. And instead, the children are pulled into the grabber's world, where he is in complete control. The irony of the story is that what saves Finney and defeats the grabber are things no one can see. Gwen's dreams, the voices through the disconnected phone, and maybe most of all, Gwen's prayer. When Gwen prays to Jesus, it's raw, uncertain, and, well, very honest.
Jesus, what the fuck?
She doesn't fully understand what she believes, but she prays anyways. And that faith, as small as it seems, appears to play a role in her dreams coming back. And it's Gwen who guides the police to the grabber's home, finding and reuniting with her brother. Another unseen guide in this story are the voices of the dead children coming through the Black Phone. Each ghost calls Finn to give advice to escape, but they all appear to fail, at least initially. But in the end, every unseen thing comes together. The dug hole, the phone cord, the ghosts, the dreams, eventually all working together like Providence. Things that look disconnected suddenly fit together to save Finney and bring judgment to the grabber. At the end, after Finn is saved and the grabber's home is discovered, there's a powerful moment to close the film. Gwen and Finn's father, who's been a complete failure throughout the movie, comes and kneels before them, weeping and begging for forgiveness. The Black Phone is, at its core, a story of adults failing their children, and the children paying the price. But I love how the story ends, not with vengeance, but with grace. In a movie filled with darkness, the final act isn't about defeating evil with violence. It's about healing a broken community. The grabber is destroyed, but how do they heal their fractured town that's left behind? The father kneeling before the children he failed, a confession of sin and a plea for restoration, is the way toward healing. The Black Phone is a beautiful story that compares the evil of hidden sins with faith in the unseen. The Black Phone is more than a story about a mass killer. It's about the monsters that we are capable of creating when we hide our darkness from ourselves, and the power of believing in what you can't see. The grabber hides his face to deny his sin, while the children open their hearts and believe in something beyond themselves. Evil hides behind masks, and faith listens for the ringing phone. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, light shines brightest